All right guys, today we're checking out the Freego Nova 3. As you know, if you're familiar with this channel, the Freego X2 Pro is actually one of my favorite bikes. I've been using that as my daily commuter. So this is a different model. This is the Freego Nova 3. And I guess the big highlight for this model is the mid-drive motor. But I think on first glance, it definitely reminds me of the Sur-Ron. Maybe a Sur-Ron that is, you know, a little bit more bare bones, a little more open, if you will. But there are some nitpicks that I have with it, which we'll get into in a second. There's also some minor modifications that I did before we actually rode the bike, which we'll get into as well. Anyway, let's go over all the features of the Freego Nova 3. Okay, so the first thing that you guys will notice are the 17 by 3.15 inch tires. Has a knobby tread, so really good for off-road, but it could also function as kind of like a dual sport tread. So if you wanted to ride it on the street, no problem. These are pretty much moto brakes with DOT fluid. You also got these thick 220 millimeter rotors, so plenty of stopping power for the weight of this bike. It has a front suspension fork, but feels kind of generic. You know, there's nothing really special about this fork, and I don't really see anywhere where you could actually adjust the compression. It does have an integrated front fender, but it is pretty cheap. It is no frills. It is this flexible plastic, basically, that you attach with zip ties. You'll definitely probably want to upgrade this if you do some real off-road riding. Over here is something very familiar. It's a far driver controller, 60 volt. So this is similar to the X2 Pro controller in that it's a customized far driver controller. So the harness actually has their own custom wiring, which means that you can't actually access it without putting in a new harness, which I'll show you guys in a second. For the battery, we have a 60 volt, 25 amp hour battery. You also notice that I added these battery straps. It's because the really big battery is only held with the battery plate. And I think having a little bit more support to kind of bring the battery, you know, towards the frame and to support it instead of just the battery plate, I think will help with, you know, just keeping things secure. So as we work our way to the top, you'll notice that I changed the grips. So these are my favorite Amazon hand grips, orange and black. So that was an easy replacement. You also have the headlight switch over here, nice and bright. And you guys will probably recognize this headlight. It's basically a Sur-Ron style headlight. Here's a look at the levers for the hydraulic disc brakes. Use only DOT4 or 5.1 fluid. You also have integrated turn signals. So left, there's no front, only the rear. So you do get this rear left light or right. So yeah, for whatever reason, the left doesn't blink, but the right blinks. That might just be this model. Not sure what's going on there, but not a big deal. We disconnected the brake sensors just because that's just a preference. You also got the integrated horn. Super loud. And you have this little carrying case over here in the center, and it's actually bolted to the bike. You could probably take it off if you want to, but very convenient for adding your valuables over here, your phone or whatever you want, sunglasses. So nice little hard case. Here we have the left mounted LCD display, pretty basic, no frills. A little bit of a rise on the handlebars, but if you wanted to upgrade it to make it a little bit higher, easy to do. And I did change from a half twist to a full twist throttle, and that's for preference only, but I do like having a full twist for a bike like this. I feel like I have more control. I'll put a link in the description, but it's an easy plug and play, just a Higo 3-pin connector. Here we have a proper Sur-Ron saddle seat. So this is actually a true Sur-Ron saddle seat because all of the connections over here are the same. They match up. I also had a spare Sur-Ron rear fender, so that's why I put this over here. It does come with a similar fender like this, you know, like a kind of cheap plastic fender, but I just took that off and put this one on instead. You could also get an extended Sur-Ron rear fender if you wanted to, but that's a good feature because that means you can easily change the seat cover if you wanted something a little more grippy. So very similar to the Sur-Ron where you have a belt as a primary and then the secondary is a chain. You do have this guard over here to prevent your foot from hitting the belt, but it is exposed. So unless your foot is mounted all the way in the front, there is a possibility that it'll sort of like touch something over here. It's an interesting design decision to not put the pegs a little bit further away from the belt, but it is what it is. Here's the rear suspension shock. No name, no brand on it, but can easily be upgraded if you feel like this is too stiff or too soft depending on your weight. You do have another plastic rear fender over here, like a mud guard. And hydraulic disc brakes on the rear with the same size rotor on the back. So this is a 56 tooth sprocket. So here we have the 1500 watt rated 3000 watt peak mid-drive QS motor. So this is actually a popular motor. I think they make an upgraded version of this if you wanted to, you know, get a little bit more power. Iconic Cycles has it, I believe, and that would just be an easy plug and play. And then obviously you have the 420 chain over here. If the chain is too loose, it'll start making noise because it'll start hitting the chain guard up here. So just something to be aware of. And the total weight of the Freego Nova 3 is 117 pounds. So yeah, not that light, but maybe not as heavy as a Sur-Ron, but it's definitely in that category of a heavier, high-performance e-bike. And also, because there are no pedals, this might be, you know, in the legal gray area depending on where you live. You know, so for sure you could ride it off-road, but you just kind of have to know your laws in your state if you do want to ride it on the street. Anyway, now that we've gone over all the features of the Freego Nova 3, let's take it out for its first ride.
3, 2, 1. Way faster than I expected. That was pretty good. All right, now we're gonna go uphill. So it's gonna be a little bit harder for this thing. It's gonna have to work for that speed. So let's hit a U-turn here. 3, 2, 1. Uphill test. Oh yeah, she's still pulling. And we're going uphill a pretty decent grade. Oh yeah, still no problem getting to 30. 36. Oh yeah, still going uphill. All right, now we're gonna start leveling out. Yeah, this is a lot faster than I expected it to be. And it feels pretty good. Yeah, comfortable ride and everything. I just wish the pegs were a little different, but that's something we can always change, so. Someone needs to come out with some nice 3D printed ones for this thing.
First thing I want to do is get into the controller. The harness from Iconic Cycles, we'll put a link in the description. You also need to get this Bluetooth module, and you do need an ignition switch to turn on the harness. So to get into the controller, you just gotta unbolt here. Pretty simple. So here we go. And this is the custom far driver controller over here. It is a 60 volt, 260 amp custom far driver controller. Here is the custom harness. Just unplug it, right? In comparison, this harness is much different, less wires. There isn't a port, there isn't a connector on the stock harness where you can plug in Bluetooth. And that's really the only way you can access the controller is through the Bluetooth. All right, so we'll plug this in and plugged in. Then we turn the battery on, then we turn on the switch, 66.2 volts. And then we also have to turn on the display. So now we are in the Fire Driver app, and on that bottom over there is the controller. So we're gonna click that and it is connected. And then now we can see all of the settings. Now we will change some of the settings based on just a quick conversation with Ryan Goodyear at Iconic. Max speed to 9,000 RPM, and then the throttle X step from 168 to 220. Throttle deck step from 128 to 224. Throttle low from 1.1 to 0.95. Throttle high to 3.95. Scroll down to ratios and speed, 85% right here on the 8,500 RPM. So we'll do 85 there. Right above that, another 85. Above that, we'll do 95. And then we'll go on the right, 9,000 RPM, we'll do 85. 8,000 will be 85 as well. 7,000 RPM will do 90. And then the rest is 100%. 100. 100. 100. Guess what the next one is? 100. Everyone gets 100. 5,500, yep, that would be 100. 100.
Check under your seat.
100. 100. And last one, 100. Okay, so we'll save that. Save controller data. Good. And then ratios in gear, we'll change low speed from 30 to 40 RPM to 5,000 RPM. And then middle speed from 5160 RPM to 6,000 RPM. We'll save controller data, go down to product, and then temp 70 will change from 2 to 1. Save. Save controller data just to be sure. Just remove your harness. Stock harness is back on, and then we will put everything back together. All right, guys, first ride with the Freego Nova 3. Here's what I look like sitting on the bike. Inseam is about 30 inches, so can't quite flat-foot it, but still not bad. I think the pegs or the footrests are, I mean, I'd hesitate to even call them pegs. They're not really pegs, they're just footrests, right? Feels like a bit of an awkward position. Otherwise, everything feels pretty good from my height, at least. Here we go. Okay, this is power level 1, and that feels pretty strong. Maxing out at about 23 miles per hour. Now we did kind of like change the tune on the controller, so these power levels are probably not how they would come stock, right? But let's bump it up to 3 now. All right, a little more response on the throttle on the low end. Definitely feel that mid-drive just kind of pulling you, but it's not, you know, it's not like a Sur-On necessarily where you can really feel that low end. Still a bit of a gradual ramp up with the throttle, but I do like how it feels. I mean, it feels like a Sur-On, but maybe like a little tuned down, like a Sur-On on a bike frame. Let's bump it up to power level 5 now. Oh yeah. That feels really good. Woo! Really easy to maneuver. Again, my feet are in kind of like, they're like really high, so it's like kind of a bit of an awkward position, but you could kind of get used to it if you take a bit of time. You know, and I'm a short rider, so I think someone much taller than me, it might be a little bit more uncomfortable, but right now this is pretty good. Oh yeah, very nice. Let's take it on the grass over here. We'll start slow. And suspension-wise, I think the rear shock could probably be a little bit better. I'm definitely feeling everything. The front fork, front suspension, honestly, not that great. I don't even know if this is an actual brand. I don't see any adjustments on it, so yeah, not the greatest, to be honest. I would definitely upgrade the rear shock for sure. Or you just stand up when you're riding it. I guess we could try going up the hill. I'll swing back around here. Let's see how it handles inclines. All right. And working our way up, no problem. Yeah, mid-drive motors, you know, this mid-drive setup definitely is built for handling terrain like this, or slopes, you know, hills, that kind of thing. So probably if you're in the dirt, it'll feel much better. But I would still recommend upgrading that rear shock. Okay, so I guess we could try a brake test now. I'll go all the way down there, I'll come back around. All right, here we go. Full throttle. And brake. That's not bad. That's not bad.
All right, guys, Sully here, and here we got the Freego Nova 3, and we're gonna check it out today and see if we can get it to some wheelies. Initially, putting my feet up on these footrests, it feels awkward. It's forward, and they're, I don't know, I just don't think they're the best shape. I don't know. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's because they're like kind of slippery, but that's something that could definitely be easily upgraded with just like a 3D printed piece or something. But the handlebars feel good. The front shock feels good. Rear shock feels good. Oh, and that's one thing, is your feet kind of hit the belt and the chain area kind of a little easy. It's very easy to rub against the belt, so be mindful of that. So that's another thing, you know, you just got to make sure you keep your feet forward. It's just a very awkward position to sit. Yeah, let's just try a quick little wheelie. Both our feet down, and I don't know. Yeah, not bad. That was no brakes there at all. I'm gonna try and tap the brakes a little bit this time. Yeah, not bad. Wheelie's pretty good. If I was more confident in my ability, I would be able to put my feet up, but I do not think, no, I don't feel comfortable on this bike, and I don't want to dump it because it is not mine. But I mean, you can always use your feet as a brake, so. But yeah, I mean, overall the tune, I mean, anything with a Far Driver, I am just automatically in love with. I love the Far Driver controllers. They're like a budget option for a super good, tunable, smooth controller. All right, so let's try a wheelie with a little bit of speed. Maybe we'll try like 5 miles an hour or something like that. Yeah, it's definitely capable. I mean, it has plenty of power. I mean, it could probably do that at 10, but again, I don't really trust this brake enough. Like, you squeeze it all the way to your knuckle and it doesn't fully stop you, so I just prefer to go just like this. So, yeah, awesome bike. Let's see if it can do a stoppie. Nope. See, that's what I mean by the brakes. The brakes are not. Ow. Well, that just cut power to everything. There we go. The brake sensor got stuck. That sounds so scary. But I think it's just the heat shields clanking for the, yeah, it definitely is the heat shield. Or guard, foot guard, whatever you want to call it. Let's go off-road up over the hills with the drone. Try to avoid the wet. Oh yeah, right up the hill. back up the other way. This thing's fun. Hitting all sorts of jumps, no problem, just dipping around. What a blast.
So let's recap the specs. The Freego Nova 3 is a steel-framed electric dirt bike built for all-terrain riding with a clean moto-inspired design. It features a headlight, tail light with brake functionality and signals, and a left-mounted LCD display. The 31.7-inch saddle height and sturdy frame give it a balanced, upright stance, and the total weight of the bike weighs in at 117 pounds. In terms of performance, it packs a 1,500-watt rated, 3,000-watt peak mid-drive motor powered by a 60-volt, 25-amp-hour battery. It pushes over 40 miles per hour at full throttle and has 5 selectable power modes. Depending on rider weight and terrain, you're looking at 20 to 50 miles of range. It has a front suspension fork and rear monoshock, paired with moto brakes. The Nova 3 also has 17 by 3.15-inch dirt bike tires for extra grip and control on loose trails.
First impressions with the Freego Nova 3? Yeah, I really like it. You know, I have a few little nitpicks, but first we'll talk about what I like. Obviously like the design, the form factor, sits nice and low for a short rider like me. I think the overall power delivery, especially after we changed the tune, feels really good. It's a custom far driver controller, very similar to the Freego X2 Pro. So if you wanted to just kind of bolt on a different far driver, right, that doesn't require a custom harness, we'll put a link in the description for an Iconic Cycles far driver controller like a 72300. Then I think you could really unlock the power. There's also a QS motor that I believe is compatible. That's an upgraded version of this. We'll also put a link in the description. So if you add that, a new controller, I think you might even get more out of this stock battery. And then, you know, easy enough, plenty of space to drop in a 72 volt if you wanted to, and really make this thing fly. So yeah, if it's a project bike, if it's a bike that you want to mod, I think it's actually at a great price point if you do decide to upgrade the components. You know, it reminds me of a Sur-Ron. It reminds me of a Sur-Ron on a bike frame. Maneuvering was fine. I think the chain was probably a little too loose, so it was rattling around against the chain guard. Easy enough things to fix. I do like that you have, you know, the integrated, you know, Sur-Ron headlight. You have turn signals on the rear. And then, yeah, my nitpicks, obviously, like I said, the location of the footrests. Kind of have to watch how you're riding and where your heel sits, because it could easily just kind of get caught here. You know, maybe you get a shoelace stuck in there. That wouldn't be good. I do wish that the brakes were swapped. So left side for the rear brake and right side for the front. I think what we'd want to do in the future is upgrade the masters. It'll make it a little more, give us more options for adjusting it, and then, you know, flip-flopping it as well. Other than that, I mean, the calipers are pretty heavy duty. You know, they're moto brakes basically, so really strong, big rotors. So yeah, that's a plus. You want that for a bike that's this heavy and that has this much power. The 60 volts, it's not 48 or 52, it's not 72, it's right in the middle, which is good for a lot of people. And then one other thing that I know people in the comments are going to complain, it's not street legal, what are you doing? I'm okay, I get it. This is not legal advice. Don't come to this channel for legal advice. Really cool bike, definitely impressed. Freego, I mean, my X2 Pro is my daily driver. You know, the Nova 3, another cool option if you want to do mid-drive. If you prefer mid-drive and you want to upgrade it, there's all the parts that are just plug and play. Definitely upgrade the throttle to a full twist throttle. It makes it a much more enjoyable experience. Freego Nova 3, solid recommend.
here's what we like. The Freego Nova 3 delivers solid low-end torque with plenty of mid-drive power. Its tuning options make it easy to dial in your ride, and it's a solid platform for mods, giving you room to customize as you go. But here's some things to consider. The braking setup isn't moto style, which might throw some stunt riders off. Depending on your local laws, it may not be street legal, and the tight spacing between the footrest and primary belt could be an issue if your foot shifts mid-ride. So, what do you think of the Freego Nova 3? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.